It's a King Mario.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the podcast. This is the Battleborn podcast. My name is Mario Salinas, and it is good to be back with you guys again, finally. As you guys know, I'm always sending positive vibes your guys' way, and hope that everyone out there is doing great, leading busy and productive lives, and, just getting through it, man, and, putting in work and setting goals and achieving. Definitely wish that for everybody out there, and appreciate all of you guys that are tuning in, listening to us here on the podcast yet again. I know I am coming really late again, man, but this time it wasn't like it was kind of, just to get kind of personal with it just for a second, man. I've been going through a lot of stuff right now, you know what I mean? And I just want to say I appreciate everyone out there, all the listeners of the show that, wrote into me last few days, asking, hey, where you at? Everything okay? And yeah, everything's good. I'm doing well. Super appreciate all of you guys who, took the time to check up on me and, just wish me well and hope that I was doing okay. And like I said, I'm doing good. Just had a few things going on, and nothing like life threatening, nothing like too serious or bad or anything like that. Just just some things came up in life, and I just had to kind of navigate through it and kind of deal with things, and just kind of deal with myself right now. And like I said, I'm feeling a lot better today. Like I said, I'm back here doing the podcast. I just I don't even know what to say, man. I don't really have an excuse, you guys. I apologize. I just, my head hasn't really been in the game, last couple of, I would say over the last week, you know what I mean? Just with, a lot of the stuff I had going on, and, you know what I mean? I don't want to ramble on too long about it, but, man, just life happens sometimes, man, and things come up in life, and you just gotta deal with it, you know what I mean? You just gotta get up and keep going, man, and then just find a way to just keep pushing yourself to get up every day and keep it moving, and then try to make yourself a little better each day, and or better each day. And like I said, man, I am just, I was just really touched by, how many of you guys out there, obviously like the show, care enough about it to, hit me up and ask, hey, Mario, where the heck you at? You know what I mean? But, yeah, I just wanted to explain to you guys, you know what I'm saying? I know I'm trying to keep up with this podcast and provide you guys with the content that, just to give you guys something entertaining to listen to each week, something that hopefully you guys can, take from and learn from, or just kick back and enjoy, you know what I mean? A lot of you guys send me messages saying you like what I'm doing, you dig what I got going on here. And, like I said, I want to keep trying to focus on staying here and, keeping up with this podcast and keeping it moving, and keeping it growing, and doing that with all of you guys, which has been just, this has been a complete and total pleasure of mine to be able to do. It's it's like cheaper than therapy. You know what I mean? I get to just come on the microphone and kind of just say what's on my mind, say whatever it is that, I want to get into. And, like I said, man, I was just going through some stuff, just kind of going through the motions. And, a lot of you guys out there, I'm sure you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You just, things happen in life sometimes, and, it's just, I don't want to make an excuse and say oh man, it stopped me from being able to do the podcast. In all actuality, man, I could have come up in here any day, could have came into the lab and, just started recording. But, like I said, man, my head just wasn't in it last couple of days. And, it's just not in me to be able to come in here and, just kind of phone it in, you know what I mean? Put out a half-ass effort. And, for me, it's just like, if I can't come in here and give it 100% and give this podcast the attention that I feel it deserves, then I won't do it. You know what I mean? And then, like, I'm not saying, this podcast is some kind of big staple or some kind of important institution in life or society. I'm just saying, it's important to me. You know what I mean? This podcast is my baby. You know what I mean? Me and, a couple of the mad scientists that helped me along the way, we put this thing together ourselves. It's a total local show. It's just, we run this thing with no ad revenue, no money like that. It's just me being able to come here and run a show my way, do things the way I want to do it. And, and then, like I said, I get to share that with all of you guys out there who I'm fortunate enough to, have to, come and listen to us and, follow us on the, on all of our platforms and social medias, which, by the way, reminds me, if you guys are here, listening to the podcast on our Spotify audio only version or any of our other streaming platforms, welcome and thank you for tuning in again. And, for those of you guys watching us on the YouTube channel, watching the video here that you're looking at, I appreciate you guys for being here as well. Be sure for all of you guys on the YouTube to like these videos, like all the videos, leave us some comments, so we can read them on the show. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and just help us keep it going and growing. So along with that, be sure to follow us on the social medias. As you guys always know, the Instagram is at Battleborn Podcast, the Facebook is at the Battleborn Podcast. And as always, if you guys want to reach out to the show, send us anything that's on your mind, your questions, comments, concerns. You guys already know you can hit us at the email right there, which is battlebornpodcast@gmail.com. We always love hearing from you guys, so be sure to leave us a message there and just let us know what's on your mind, or if you got a question you would like me to answer on the show. Definitely been burning through them. So yeah, man, I appreciate it. Look, like I said, man, just getting back into everything that's been going on. I just want to let all of you guys know I'm doing good. I'm feeling a lot better these days. I'm feeling good with everything that's just happening for me right now. And got a lot of big plans for this podcast and just for myself personally. So yeah, just be sure to keep following us and keep keeping up with the show. And like I said, man, we got a couple of cool things coming up next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that. You guys don't want to miss it. It's gonna be really, really good stuff. So with all of that said, and just getting that introduction out of the way, let us go ahead and jump right into this show. Let us begin. And of course, for all of you guys who are regular listeners of the podcast, you guys know that we like to start the show each week with a quote of the week. And we just a quote that is sent to me or that I find along the way during the week that I feel is can add to the show and get us started off on the good foot or on the right foot. Just to add another layer of positivity to the show. So this week's quote of the week is going to be from Will Smith, the actor Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air himself. And this one is just, this is actually a quote that I came across the other day on social media, and I really liked it. And I'm just like, I got to put that on the show, because it's just that good. So this week's quote of the week is from Will Smith, and the quote of the week reads, "Don't chase people. Be yourself. Do your own thing and work hard. The right people, the ones who really belong in your life, will come to you and stay." So, yes, sir, that is some sound advice from Will Smith. And, I will take him at his word for it. Another, hugely successful guy who, he's done it all, man. And I think that quote in particular just stood out to me because that's just something that I live my life by as well. You know what I mean? It's just like, you can't force people to stay in your life. You know what I mean? People are going to come and people are going to go. But, like what Will Smith is saying here, just don't focus on chasing other people, focus on doing for you and improving yourself and making sure that you're taking, steps every single day to make your life better and improve it. And, just get you closer and closer to just loving life and loving yourself, which is very key, very important. I think that's where Will Smith was, aiming at with that quote and what he was trying to get at. So, yeah, definitely one for the podcast that I'd love to bring on the show. And man, it's just it's great always to share a good quote to start the show off. And by the way, I'm not sure if I said it. If I did, I apologize for repeating myself, but I should say welcome to the Battleborn Podcast. And my name is Mario Salinas. I am your host. And again, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into some of the news for the week, and we'll just talk about some of the things that are going on. In continuation with the with the talk that I had on the last podcast about the Lakers and everything that was going on with them and their recent struggles with Anthony Davis being out of the lineup with injury or due to injury. I just kind of want to give you guys an update. A lot of you guys like the Lakers talk, and specifically you guys want to know how I feel, since obviously the Lakers are my favorite team. I'm a huge NBA head, and you know what I mean, just I'm part of a lot of groups on social media where we just kind of IM each other about, or I should say DM each other about, just the latest sports news and, everything that's going on right now. But just like I said, an update with the Lakers, still without AD, still hasn't come back into the lineup, into the rotation. I mean, we've already gotten to the, the other half of the All-Star break. So, the second half of the season is in full swing, and we still don't have AD back. But, hey man, that's not stopping LeBron and these Lakers from doing a little bit of work. Whereas last week, man, when when we were losing to all these teams, that blowout that we had that I talked about on against the Brooklyn Nets, I believe I was on this show actually watching the game and recording the podcast at the same time. And we got totally squashed by the Brooklyn Nets, and they didn't even have Kevin Durant. Now, granted, we didn't have Anthony Davis and a few other guys, but I mean, those guys put a whooping on us, and they didn't have Kevin Durant. So look, man, when all that stuff happened and we started losing to these teams like Detroit and Utah and all this was happening, I'm not even going to lie to you, Laker Nation. I went into full on panic mode. Like I was pressing the button, man. I was sounding the alarm. I was saying it to anyone that would listen, man. I was like, yeah, I'm in full on panic mode right now. I'm scared. You know what I mean? Because these Lakers were looking real weak. They weren't looking great at all leading up into the All-Star game. And I guess you can kind of maybe chalk that up to, just kind of the, just in between the season, you kind of get laps a little bit, and I think you just going into the All-Star break, a lot of guys just kind of like, I don't want to say lose interest, but the energy level is not as high, because you've been playing all these games, and especially the Lakers, man, who had the shortest break of them all because they won the fucking championship, came back 70 days later to start another season, which is like a very, very short time, when you're a professional athlete playing at that level, you know what I mean, with all these guys that are older and have a lot of injuries, AD obviously, LeBron, and it was just a big order for the Lakers, man, to just have that quick turnaround, you know what I mean, and coming off a championship, trying to get a second one, and it's just like, look, man, I'm still rolling with the Lakers, you know what I mean? I'm not counting them out fully, not just yet, you know what I mean? Because I still believe Anthony Davis is going to come back at some point when we get Anthony Davis, and, once he gets back, once he gets his legs back under him and he's back in the, full rotation, full swing of things, playing back at 100% or as close to 100% as he possibly can. Hey man, it's still LeBron and AD, man. I think they're still running the West. I think the Lakers are still the favorites to win the West, given that those guys are healthy and are playing at their full potential. So thinking that is going to happen, yeah, like I said, man, I am still rolling with the Lakers, not counting them out just yet. Still got them as the favorites so long as everybody stays healthy, you know what I mean? Because, we got the Clippers and the Jazz and all these other teams, kind of floating around out there. And Phoenix, oh my God, man, Phoenix has been fucking totally surprising this year, haven't they? With CP3 and Devin Book down there, and yeah, man, they're looking real good, and Steph Curry, man, with the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, they don't have Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant left. Nobody really. I don't think anybody who's really heavy into, the NBA and basketball thinks that the Golden State Warriors have a realistic chance to make it out of the West. But dude, Steph Curry's having a great fucking season, man, and they don't call him the best shooter in the league for nothing, or in history. He's the best shooter in the history of the game of basketball, and it's like he's starting to really stretch that gap. You know what I mean? He's starting to really separate himself from even the greatest of shooters like the Reggie Millers and Klay Thompson and Ray Allen. You know what I mean? Like Steph is getting to that point where he's he's getting into a class all of his own, and it's fucking awesome to watch. Like I like Steph Curry. I'm not a Golden State Warriors fan. I'm a Lakers fan. You know what I mean? Anytime the Lakers can win, I'm always gonna roll on that side. You guys already know, but man, like real recognized real and great recognizes great, man. Fucking Steph Curry is playing out of his mind, like out of this world right now with the way he's just able to shoot the ball with such precision, so effortlessly, and he just makes the craziest fucking shots and they just go in, dude, swish like nothing. And I mean, you can tell the guy, he really works at it and practices hard. But like I said, I don't think they're gonna win a championship. I don't think anyone realistically believes that. But I just wanted to, I gotta mention a great player when I see them doing very well. So yeah, that's a shout out to Steph Curry, the chef. And but like I said, man, I still got the Lakers heavy favorites in the West. But you know what I mean? Like I said, this Brooklyn Nets team, man, fucking scares me. I'm not even gonna lie, dude. This combination now of Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and now they signed fucking Blake Griffin, man. And that shit was crazy to me because, I kind of thought there was a chance that Blake was going to come to us, to the Lakers, man. And, just join up with LeBron and AD, just given that, AD has been out, and I think the Lakers are looking for some kind of, assurance right now. You know what I mean? That, that they can still, get back to the promised land. And I think signing a guy like Blake Griffin or someone along those levels, I know there's a lot of people we're looking at right now, other than Blake Griffin, like, DeMar DeRozan, and man, who's the other guy that Spurs just let go of him? We were just looking at him. LaMarcus Aldridge. Yeah, we were looking at him too, which, I mean, both guys I think would be great additions to the team, depending on how much we would have to give up for them. If we had to give up anything at all. Like, if we could get one of those guys just on a contract buyout or something like that, that'd be great, where we can keep everyone intact and bring someone else in. Like, that would be the dream scenario for the Lakers, man. But, you know what I mean? Just sometimes the NBA it doesn't work that way, man. And, you got to give up some players to get a great player. And, like I said, man, it's just, I don't want to disrupt the chemistry of this team, but I feel like at the same time, they are missing just another piece. Whereas last year, we had LeBron and AD, and then we had these gigantic bigs coming off the bench, Dwight Howard, a former defensive player of the year, JaVale McGee, who's just vastly improved his game over the years and, proven champion with the Warriors and now with the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like we had a lot of threats, we had a lot of answers to a lot of teams. And this year we just don't really have that. You know what I mean? Like, got Marc Gasol, and he's kind of a downgrade from those guys, JaVale and Dwight, you know what I mean? And we got Montrez, who's, he's younger, you know what I mean? He's a little bit more athletic, but I don't think he's as powerful as a guy like Dwight Howard, whereas like, Dwight Howard, he really knew how to push dudes around and kind of just cause a lot of problems defensively for other teams. So that's where I feel like we're lacking, and that the Lakers really need to, they need to get on that. Rob Pelinka need to get on that and figure out, how they can improve this team defensively, because and you guys know in the playoffs, everything gets locked in even more. Not saying that doesn't also advantage to the Lakers, but if you're going to struggle defensively in the playoffs, you know what I mean? You're going to run into a lot of problems, and, series will get stretched out longer. Guys will have to play more games. And like I said, man, dude, LeBron ain't getting any younger. You know what I mean? Like, I think right now is the time for him to, make sure that he can win as many championships as possible, because, you know what I mean? He's not going to have another 15, 16, 17 years in front of him to, to play again. You know what I mean? He's on that downside of his career. So, yeah, man, right now coming out of the East, I think the Brooklyn Nets are looking like the favorites, man. Now, obviously, Phillies, they're sitting right there too. The Philadelphia 76ers, they're playing pretty great. Although, I will say, I just saw the other day, Joel Embiid, had some kind of, crazy fall in his leg. I didn't get any update on that. I apologize. I will, definitely do that, for the next show and talk about it, because I don't know what his status is right now. If he's going to miss a little bit of time, but it's nothing major, then obviously Philly is still right there. If Embiid suffered something like, catastrophic, where he's going to miss some significant amount of time or the rest of the season, then the 76ers have no chance. You know what I mean? Without Embiid, there's no way they're getting past Brooklyn, Milwaukee, maybe even Miami, you know what I mean? Or some of these other teams in the East that are playing pretty well. The Boston Celtics come to mind, and, just young teams that can really go. But, obviously, man, the standout in that whole crowd of the East is the Brooklyn Nets, man, with the way they're stacking up. And, you know what I mean? They're just, obviously not without their faults, you know what I mean? They got some holes defensively that I can kind of point out as well, you know, just because you kind of blew your load getting all these guys, you know, KD and Kyrie and James Harden, who, I mean, offensively, that's a powerhouse, but defensively, you know what I mean? Like, you know, those guys can occasionally get you something big time defensively, but I mean, none of those guys, I believe, are any kind of defensive players of the year, you know what I mean? Especially James Harden, you know, if you guys go YouTube, James Harden playing defense, and, you know, you'll see some funny, highlights or, some spoofs or bloopers, as they would say, Shaqtin' a Fool, you know, just some funny stuff with James Harden, who, occasionally takes a defensive play or two off and, you know, doesn't commit to his assignment. But like I said, this team is scary offensively, man. Lot of firepower right there, man. And Kevin Durant, you know, Kyrie Irving, who's always a baller. You know, James Harden, who can step back and swish it just about anywhere on the court. Yeah, man. As a Lakers fan, I got to tell you guys, I'm not even gonna front that team scares me. You know what I mean? They really, really scare me. And I feel like that might be the finals preview right there. It might be the Brooklyn Nets versus the LA Lakers for the, you know, winner take all for the championship. If we get into a series with the Brooklyn Nets, man, I was really actually thinking about this earlier today. Like, what do I realistically see the outcome of that playoff series being? And I couldn't really come up with an answer, man, because I could see the Lakers winning in 6. I could see Brooklyn winning in 7. You know, anything could happen. You know, it's just that those teams would be just so, with everybody 100%, you know, LeBron and AD on one side, and then you got KD and Kyrie on the other side, and then, you know, those guys almost cancel each other out, and then you got to figure out who has the best matchup after that, you know what I mean? And just with everyone else on these teams, you know what I mean, on both of them, they're just so inconsistent that you never really know who's going to show up and show out and play well, you know what I mean? It could go either way, you know, it could, you know, the pendulum, as they would say, could swing in either favor. So that's what scares me, because anybody else in the East, I think the Lakers could take them. I think the Lakers can beat the Celtics. I think the Lakers can beat the Bucks. I think the Lakers can beat, who else is in the mix? Let's run down the teams of the East. The Knicks, we can beat them. The Pacers, we can beat them. The Heat, we can beat them. The Magic, obviously, we can beat them. You know, Atlanta, we can beat them. And, you know, a bunch of these teams I'm naming are probably not even going to go to the playoffs at all. So, talking about the top teams that I see really legitimately coming out of the East that are contenders for a championship, Philly, Boston, Milwaukee, and that might be it, man. Philly, Boston, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee. Those are going to be the 4 teams right there. And like I said, the Lakers can take all of them except for the Nets. Like, I'm not saying the Lakers can't win. I'm saying that's the one that gives me the most concern, because, dude, you know what I mean? All it takes is a great series from Kevin Durant and it's over. You know what I mean? If he's not playing well, Kyrie can step in. Kyrie's not playing and KD and Kyrie aren't playing well. You got James fucking Harden, and now you got Blake Griffin, who's, you know, we don't even know if he's going to be a starter or come off the bench. Like, in a lot of ways, like, you know, it might be even scarier for the Nets for a guy like Blake Griffin to come off the bench, because, granted, look, Blake Griffin was not really what he was in Detroit, that, you know, we were accustomed to seeing of him being in LA when he was with the Clippers. You know what I mean? He was not that in Detroit, but I don't think that says so much about him as the player. I mean, it might. I don't know if he went through any kind of injuries or something like that, but I think a lot of it also has to do with with your situation, your position. I don't think that was the best situation for Blake Griffin. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, just, dude, him coming off the bench, that means he would have to, you know, go up against like all the other team's second stringers. You know what I mean? How scary is that? Right? And, dude, it's just, that team has a lot going on for them right now. And, you know, I don't want to just take up too much time talking about just this, but, like I said, man, I definitely got my eye all over the Brooklyn Nets, because, dude, that's the biggest roadblock in the Lakers being able to go back to back. So do I think the Lakers can go back to back? Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? We get Anthony Davis back, and, you know, LeBron, you know, picks it up. And I mean, dude, LeBron has been fucking putting triple doubles up all over the place. You know, he's playing well. Like, you can always count on LeBron. You know, and I don't have any worry of a LeBron as long as he's healthy, he's not hurt, and he's out there on the court playing. Like, I'm not worried about LeBron. I'm worried about Kyle Kuzma. I'm worried about KCP. I'm worried about Alex Caruso and Montrezl Harrell, and obviously Marc Gasol. Like, you know, what I was saying about, you know, him. You know, it just feels like a step back from what we had last year defensively, but. You know, those guys, they really got to step up. Like, there needs to be like a third consistent option. And right now we don't have it, man. Last year in the playoffs, it was Rondo. You know what I mean? He was that third consistent guy. This year, it's just, we know we got AD, we know we got LeBron, and then we don't know what else we got. You know what I mean? Hopefully, maybe this is breakout year for Kyle Kuzma, and he'll put up a big, a big showing in the playoffs this year. Hopefully, knock on wood for the Lakers one time. But yeah, man, we're definitely gonna keep our eyes on the Lakers world, on everything that's going on over there, and yeah, man, hopefully, the biggest thing is getting AD back right now. Like I said, I don't want to ramble on too long. No, I said it a couple times already. So, yeah, man, we'll keep tabs on the Lakers, and go Lakers. You know what I mean? Hopefully everything goes good. But, moving on from that and getting off of the sports world and sports talk for a little bit, let's go ahead and switch gears here and talk about probably the biggest news of the week, which is obviously, everyone who qualifies for the stimulus is going to get their stimulus payments if you haven't already got them, by the time you hear this. By the time you hear this podcast, I'm sure some of you guys will probably already have gotten your stimulus direct deposited, and it's funny because there's all these memes about people like doing extravagant things with the $1,400, like if it was even possible. Like, I get the connotation of the meme, but I just found it funny. I don't know if you guys have been seeing these stimulus memes, but they're pretty funny. Like one guy said he was gonna like buy a tiger, and someone's gonna buy a lion, and someone was gonna the one I liked was it was like you're at McDonald's, right? And you say, hey, can I get like an ice cream? And the joke with McDonald's and their ice cream machine is that it's always fucking broken. It's never working. So it's like, that stimulus hits, you get your stimmy, you got your 1,400, you go to McDonald's and you're like, hey, can I get an ice cream? And they're like, oh, sorry, the machine's broken. And you're just like, all right, how much to fix that, motherfucker? Imagine just, you get your stimmy and you just start balling like that. Like, all right, well, how much to fix that? I don't know. I found that one to be hilarious. You know what I mean? I'm sure some of you guys have seen it. It was pretty funny. If you haven't, go look it up. I'm sure you can find it somewhere on social media. It was kind of all over the place. But yeah, man, like I said, the stimulus was passed by the Congress. It was signed by President Biden, and people are gonna get their $1,400 stimulus checks, and there's a lot to run down in this bill, man. So we're gonna kind of just jump right in here, and obviously the first thing glaring about this bill was that it got no Republican support. So no Republicans, zero in both the House and the Senate voted in favor of this stimulus package that sent, direct payments to millions and millions of Americans, including many Americans who voted for these people, who are, absolutely struggling and suffering right now and really need that money, and just the polling just overwhelmingly shows that most Americans, even, a big section of Republican voters, were in favor of this bill getting passed and getting these stimulus payments out. So, it's crazy to me that, I posted this on the social media the other day on the Instagram. I'm sure some of you guys have seen it, where I said, it was just a thought that came in my head. I was just like, it's crazy that a lot of people who voted Republican are relying on that stimulus money, you know what I mean, to get by, either by paying the bills, the mortgage, the rent, providing, for their families, just putting basic food on the table for their children, you know what I mean? And like I said, a lot of people relying on this money, man, and they voted for all these Republicans in the last election, including Donald Trump, you know what I mean? And this isn't really a Donald Trump thing. This is about the Republican Congress. You vote for these guys and you vote for them to have your back, right? Whichever side you're on. But in this case, we're specifically talking about the Republican voters. You vote for your Republicans, and then, this legislation comes up that sends money directly to you, the working man, the working woman, and, all these Republicans who you voted for leave you completely high and dry. Like we're lucky that this thing even got passed, because with some of these more conservative Democrats, the Joe Manchins and people like that, like any one of them could have held up the bill. You got to remember this was a tiebreaker by Kamala Harris. So it was a even split, of Democrats and Republicans. So it literally could have gone the other way. We could be sitting here right now talking about, oh, so-and-so blocked the stimulus from being passed, so nobody's getting direct payments. No one's getting a stimulus check. Can you imagine where a lot of Americans would feel, or where they would be at right now, knowing that the stimulus checks weren't coming? Like, I think there would be just absolute outrage. You know what I mean? It would be absolute outrage, and it would be warranted. Just like, how can you not, in the middle of a global pandemic, there's just how many small businesses and how many, people lost their jobs, and, small businesses went under, and, just how much despair and just desperation is there across the country. And in moments of crisis like this, the Republicans are going to block, key legislation that's really going to help, their own voters, just to, it's twofold. It's to first not give Democrats and President Biden a win. They don't want to make it look like, oh shit, that's why they haven't even been talking about the stimulus. They're talking about other culture war and cancel culture bullshit, which, we will also get into a little later on the show. But, they're just totally obvious they're trying to change the subject because they don't want to talk about the fact that the Democrats were the ones who got this done, So, I really hope that this is something that, even Republican voters, think on and, they really think hard about. It's like, I'm voting Republican, but at the end of the day, the Democrats put this money in my pocket. Now listen, was this bill perfect and by any means? Absolutely not. No bill ever is. Even when the Republicans are in control, you tell me what bill is perfect all the way around. Of course, there's really no such thing as a standalone bill in government these days. It's always a bill with a bunch of little extras tacked on inside of it, just so, because since people are so focused on the COVID and the stimulus payments and, money for small businesses and money for states to open schools and vaccine distributions for the COVID vaccine. People are so focused on that they don't really have time to go through the entire bill and look at every little measure and every little, allocation of funds that it's in there and what department money is going to. Like, people don't care about that. People just care about, hey man, what's in it for me? What am I getting? What's my stimulus? When am I getting it? How much is it going to be? So look, this, like I said, man, the stimulus deal that got passed, it's pulling extremely well. Amongst, the majority of registered voters, which includes a lot of independents and Republicans. So it's pulling really well, as is President Joe Biden, who's polling very well right now. It's kind of we're still within that honeymoon period, I would say, you know what I mean? So that has a little bit to do with it. I full on expect Joe Biden's numbers to drop as we, move forward in the months, because that's just historically the way it happens. Every president kind of gets no president kind of starts high and keeps getting higher and higher and higher, you know what I mean? Well, with the exception of FDR, who, obviously probably never would have lost an election if there was never term limits put in place specifically for him, because of everything he was able to do. And, by the way, Democrat. But, dude, it just, like I said, man, this bill was not without its flaws. You know what I mean? It did not include or I should say, it did not include the $15 minimum wage, which, Biden and Democrats ran on, and Biden said he was in favor of. It wasn't included in the bill. There was no real meaningful, student loan debt forgiveness, which again, something Democrats ran on, wasn't in the bill. There wasn't, there was there's good things and bad things that came out of the bill. I'm kind of, it's hard for me to, no, I shouldn't say hard, but it's like, I can criticize the bill for everything that's not included, but I also have to praise the bill for everything that is, you know what I mean? So like I said, no $15 minimum wage, no $2,000 checks. You know what I mean? The Democrats ran on $2,000. You vote for us, you elect us, we'll get you $2,000 right away. You know what I mean? You give us these two Democratic senators from Georgia. You give us the even split in the Congress and the White House to give us the tiebreaker with Kamala Harris. We're going to make it happen. $2,000 checks, $15 minimum wage, expansion of healthcare for everybody. And, everything was going to be hunky dory and peachy, and it just, none of it happened. They just totally walked back on almost every promise. You know what I mean? It's like, again, like I said, Joe Biden promised he was in favor of $15 minimum wage, already walking back on it. He when he was campaigning, he said he wanted to, forgive student loan debts, already walking back on it, and obviously the big one, you said you were going to get people $2,000 on these stimulus checks. Now it's only $1,400. You walked that back, and it's total walk back. You guys never said, hey, it's just going to be $1,400 to match the other $600 that you got for a total of $2,000. You said the $600 wasn't enough. We should pass another bill for $2,000. And that's what you told people to vote for. That's what they voted for. And, you didn't deliver. You know what I mean? But look, people are going to take what they can get, obviously. You know what I mean? Even the $1,400, which is also not enough. The $2,000 wouldn't have been enough. You know what I mean? We're talking about the quote unquote richest country in the world, and I'm seeing other states like Canada and, Australia and all these places, sending their citizens payments on a monthly basis. You know what I mean? Canada's been paying their people month by month, month after month, to make sure that they get by and that they're protected and taken care of. Here in America, what do we do here? We argue over the semantics of the legislation and the price tag. Like America ever has really given a shit about how much money we spend. It's just, to me, from the outside looking in, just as an observer, it seems to me that, whenever we're talking about money for things like the military, the industrial military complex, defense, the defense budget and things like that, purse is limitless, right? Like there's no amount is too high, there's just funding for days. It's never ending. You know what I mean? We can spend as much money as we need to for defense and security under the guise of national security and building up the military. But whenever it's like something that would actually help, working people, poor people, like people who really need it, all of a sudden it's, oh man, well, how can we afford this? This costs too much. We can't afford this. Like, you're crazy. It's going to kill the economy. It's going to kill all our jobs. It's going to desensitize people from wanting to get a job and work. And it's just like the notion that giving somebody a $1,400 check one time in like almost a year, pretty much, because you think about it, last year they sent the two stimulus, right? And every time they got lower. Right. So they sent the one stimulus back, I believe, about a year ago at this time, if I got that right, maybe even a little later. I think they sent one more stimulus towards the end of the year. And we're talking about the third stimulus, barely the third stimulus in the quote unquote richest country in the world after a full year of the pandemic. Only 3. And again, let me remind you, Canada, our neighbors to the north, been sending monthly payments to all their citizens. All their citizens who qualify. Monthly payments. Monthly. Every single month. And we are over here in America, the richest country in the world, arguing with each other about the price tag and the semantics of the bill for only the third stimulus check. It's just, it's crazy to me, man, how things work around here and the way our system is set up. It's just so incredibly flawed. And, look, man, not everything in this bill was bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's good things that were in the bill. Like I said, like the biggest thing obviously was that this bill being passed, just that alone of it being passed, is almost automatically lifting about 50% of the children living in poverty out of poverty. So we're getting half of the kids in poverty out of poverty. That's a fucking good thing. That's a great thing. That's huge. That's totally huge, man. Like to be able to make an impact that big. You know what I mean? Not only that, but that there's unemployment benefits that got renewed, and I believe they're going to hold up until September this time, because they were set to expire. You know what I mean? If we didn't get this bill passed, people that have been relying on their unemployment checks because, obviously they lost their jobs through no fault of their own, during this pandemic, the COVID wasn't nobody's fault. So, no one in America, I should say. It was like, the citizens, it's not our fault that COVID happened. You know what I mean? So, I'm sure a lot of people out there were kind of worried about what was going to happen, but there's, a $300 a week, unemployment benefit. There's they've increased the child tax credit, I believe, up to $3,000. So that's great. You know what I mean? That's totally huge. It's going to help out a lot of, working families and parents, who really, really need the support, during times like these. And, there's going to be a lot of funding for the states so that they can get businesses and schools back reopened, to as close to full capacity as possible. I know here actually in my state of Nevada, they're doing a very, very great job. And by the way, blue state. And, you know what I mean? So this narrative out there that only the blue states are crumbling and all the red states are, peachy and, blue skies everywhere. It's a total farce. I live in a total blue state here in Nevada. I mean, a lot of people would maybe consider us a swing state or a purple state. But dude, if you look at the trends, man, Nevada's been trending, reliably blue for quite some time. You know what I mean? So look, here we're doing a really great job about, even before this bill passed of getting kids back in school. My son's been back in school, you know what I mean, for months, for this whole entire semester, pretty much. I believe there was only one closure, during the semester. And I believe it maybe only lasted like a week, maybe a week and a half. Like, I'll have to get back to you guys on that. It was a couple months ago, so it's kind of slipping my mind, but small closure in between, just because of a possible COVID outbreak. But, everything turned out to be safe, and, the kids were able to go back to school, relatively quickly. And, they're on track to, finish out their semester, on time, which is also fucking great. Kids over here, they get a summer vacation, or a summer break, they get the whole summer off over here. So I'm sure a lot of kids are looking forward to that. I'm sure a lot of the parents, not every parent, because a lot of parents, rely on schools, to have their kids in a safe environment during the day while they're out working or doing whatever it is that they need to get done. But you know what I mean? Like some parents like myself, man, I'm looking totally forward to the summer and, having my break from school, my son having his break from school, and us just being able to just kind of take our minds off of that and just kind of enjoy our summer and, get into some fun and some trouble and some good trouble and, just kind of enjoy each other and, not have any distractions like that on our minds. So, that's good. And, going back to the bill, however, like I said, there was funding for the states and, not for nothing, man. I think this is, in a lot of people's eyes, going to be looked at as a win for Biden. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I just ran through the bill. Is it perfect by any means? Absolutely not. There's a lot of things that weren't in this bill that, I don't know if you can tell, but they really fucking pissed me off. You know what I mean? Because these were things that you ran on and you promised that was going to be done and you promised you were going to make happen if we elected you. We did our part and now you're not holding up your end of the bargain. So, yeah, man, it's really, really frustrating, and, but like I said, it is going to be a legislative achievement for Biden. So this is his first actual major legislative achievement, during his time in office in his first term. And he did it relatively quickly. You know what I mean? What we're like in the second month in of the Biden administration, and he's already passed a massive, spending bill like this, or a, distribution bill like this, for the COVID relief package. And, like I said, it's polling very well. So I think it's going to be a plus. It's going to be a boost for Biden. You know what I mean? He says he's going to go out there and really promote the fact that he did this, which is exactly what they should have done during the Obama years when they passed their stimulus. But, they strategized, or the way their strategy was, we did it, but let's not brag about it. You know what I mean? Because there's no reason to tout our accomplishments and make us look like, we're just trying to throw it in your face. You know what I mean? But I think Donald Trump proved, man, but there's some power and throwing it in your face. When you have an accomplishment, you know what I mean? Even as flawed as it may be, I apologize, I can't talk right now. But, yeah, man, as flawed as it may be, it's something that's really going to help a lot of people. And, credit to Biden, he's able to go out there and hopefully sell it and say, hey, look, this is what we got done. But I think, especially for progressive voters like myself, is not enough. He's got to really project this kind of message that, look, we got this done, but there's still a lot more to do. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't stop here. Like, we do want to get back to, fighting for the $15 minimum wage. We do want to get back to, hopefully, revamping and improving the healthcare system. We do want to, have voting right protections, which, again, like I talked about a couple of weeks ago, man, these Republicans are going after, voting rights very, very hard this time around. So what the next future elections are going to look like, man, beyond me. You know what I mean? I just know that the suppression is going to be turned up to 100, or turned up to 10, however you want to look at it. And, people need to be, they need to keep a close eye and be really wary about what a lot of these Republicans are doing, man. They're really, really pursuing really hardcore legislation to suppress the vote as much as possible, because that's really their only chance at this point, is to try to get as many people not to vote than to vote, you know what I mean? Because they know if they expand voting rights, then it's over for them, you know what I mean? The majority of this country is not with the Republicans. They're not with conservative ideas. And if every single eligible legal voter in this country was forced to vote, I think Republicans know what their chances would be. Their days would be numbered. You know what I mean? If every eligible legal voter had to vote, the Republicans would get blown completely out of the water in every election. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have a chance. So, I mean, look, it's crazy to me with these Republicans, man, like that not one of them, like none, zero, really. None of them supported this legislation and, sending checks out to people. And I think they really kind of dropped the ball here, because, they kind of just projected that, that's the narrative that I hear from everybody. Like, oh, look at these millionaires in Congress trying to stop, the working mom and dad from getting a $1,400 a check one time. To maybe pay the bills, maybe put some food on the table, maybe, get the rent and mortgage paid off so you don't have to worry about being kicked off or kicked out in a month, you know what I mean? And being homeless, which would also add to the homelessness crisis. So I think it was a bad move, man. I think it was a pretty bad move for Republicans to not support the bill. And, I think that might even come back to haunt them in the future. I can already see the campaign ads now, the attack ads. You can see them right now. This Republican GOP senator did not support the coronavirus spending bill. The bill that put $1,400 in your pocket. Yeah, these Republicans were against that. They were against giving you money. So, like I said, man, the attack ads kind of write themselves on things like this. So, it's funny. I briefly mentioned a little bit ago, and when I said, like, the Republicans would rather talk about a lot of this culture war, cancel culture bullshit that's going on right now. And look, brings us into the next story of the week is cancel culture. Cancel culture is out here making moves again, and this time they've gone after Dr. Seuss, Mr. Potato Head, the Looney Tunes, and man, I gotta tell you, it's look, I'll give a point to conservatives, and Republicans. Point made. I think that a lot of this cancel culture shit has gotten completely out of control. You know what I mean? But, even with that said, for the Republicans to act like, this cancel culture stuff only comes from one side, when they are the same exact people who, canceled Colin Kaepernick and tried to cancel Nike and canceled Kathy Griffin. These are the same people who fall into the same culture war canceling bullshit as they're, projecting and arguing about the other side. So, this is one of those things where it really does happen on both sides. You know what I mean? So I don't want to hear from conservatives like they're not also a part of the problem, but it is a problem, man. It's, like I said, this cancel culture thing hit Dr. Seuss, man. And it wasn't even, it's weird because it wasn't even like, it wasn't like cancel culture. So Dr. Seuss, which is, obviously you guys know Dr. Seuss, the kids' books. I'm sure many of you guys have read them at some point in your childhood. I know I've read like damn near almost all of them, you know what I mean? And, like crazy to me because I've read those books, but I never really picked up any kind of, offensive vibes from the book. You know what I'm saying? Like I never found the books to be offensive. I never looked at them that way, but so Dr. Seuss, the company, they have like 40 books out there in circulation, or over 40 books, in rotation right now. And they decided to pull 6 of their books out of the 40 some odd that they have. They decided to pull out just 6 books of theirs that they said, or they themselves as a private company deemed, we have some characters in these books that are, a little on the nose, they're racially insensitive. Like, you know, there's a character depicting like an Asian person in an unflattering way, another character that portrays you know, black people in an unflattering way. And Dr. Seuss, as the private company, decided, hey, we're gonna pull these books, and you know, we're gonna pull them out of circulation until we figure out what we're gonna do moving forward, whether that's, you know, pull them, you know, just on as a permanent thing, or, you know, just kind of, you know, redo the imagery, or whatever it is, whatever their plan is on moving forward with these 6 books. But they pulled 6 books out, and oh my god, dude, if you've been listening to conservatives or conservative media, you just swear the fucking sky fell, man. It's like the biggest news story in the world for them, that Dr. Seuss, the private company, decided to pull 6 of their 40 books, you know, that, you know, just for racial sensitivity issues. And, you know, it's funny, like they go into this whole tirade of trying to blame the left and Democrats, where it's like, no politician on either side, whether it be the left or the right, was calling for this. Nobody, there's not one politician in Washington that's on record at any point going out and saying, hey, you know what cause we really need to get behind right now? We need to cancel these Dr. Seuss books because they're racially insensitive. Like, that came out of nobody's mouth. It didn't come out of Joe Biden's mouth. It didn't come out of Donald Trump's mouth. It didn't come from Nancy Pelosi or AOC or Bernie Sanders or none of these people. Nobody in Washington was calling for this. Dr. Seuss, as a private company, which, by the way, I thought conservatives were all about, you know, the free enterprise and private business and small government, and letting a private company doing whatever they want to do with their own product, but and until it offends you, and then that rule no longer applies, I guess. But you know, Dr. Seuss, like I said, as a private company, decided to make this decision on 6 of their books. And, you know, the narrative that gets portrayed, like it was every fucking lefty liberal in maybe even Hollywood too, but in Washington, you know, that was calling for this, and this is a movement that we were getting behind. I mean, guys, look, I don't like giving myself a label like I'm a Democrat, you know what I mean? Because, you know, I'm not a slave to either party. I vote for the person that I think is going to do the best job for the most people. So right now, yeah, I would say that I'm a bit of a lefty, you know what I mean? I'm voting liberal these days, you know, because they're giving me something better to vote for, you know, over what the Republicans and the conservatives got going on. But even and from my position, man, as you know, a liberal leaning person, dude, I find a lot of this cancel culture stuff and this bullshit to be completely ridiculous also. You know what I mean? I'm with you guys. You know, I'm not over here saying like, yeah, they should be banning these books. They should be, you know, banning Mr. Potato Head, which was the other thing that, you know, the, who is it? Hasbro? I forgot who is in charge of these, you know, these Toy Story characters, but Mr. Potato Head, or maybe it's just Disney itself, but Mr. Potato Head, you know, he's you know, this character from Toy Story. You know, they decided they didn't pull the toy out of rotation, but they're gonna like re-release the toy as no longer being Mr. Potato Head, but just Potato Head, because they want to be, I don't know, sensitive to both genders, I guess. Like they don't want to be gender specific with Mr. Potato Head. But this one I didn't really understand, because okay, you have Mr. Potato Head, but you also have Mrs. Potato Head. So aren't you already showing kind of like a respectful, equal way there with having both? Like why is it that, I mean, look, I'm not saying that men are better than women are better than men. I think we're all equals, right? Like as human beings, we're all equals. We're all each other's equals. That's really how I feel. I don't feel like I'm superior or above anybody else just because of their gender, their race, what they believe in, anything. You know, that's not me. I don't fall into that category. But it doesn't make sense to me where you have, you know, you're representing both genders with the same essential toy, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, but you're gonna pull Mr. Potato Head because it's gender insensitive to who? Like who? I mean, what kind of fucking loser on Twitter is fighting these battles, man, to the death, man? It's just like I said, man, I find this whole thing with the canceling stuff, man, to be getting to the point where it's getting out of hand. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like things are being canceled that nobody asked for. You know, now, you know, we're talking about the Looney Tunes, and, you know, they decided to, now all of a sudden Speedy Gonzalez is, you know, racially insensitive to Latinos. And let me just tell you, man, I am a Latino, you know, and I grew up with Speedy Gonzalez. Like I know Speedy Gonzalez. I love the Speedy Gonzalez character. I never once felt offended by it at all as a Latino man. I never thought that they were trying to portray Latinos in like a disrespectful way. If anything, I saw Speedy Gonzalez as a representation of us. Like, they're giving us our own representation on this show, the Looney Tunes, that is being watched by millions and millions of people all throughout the country and probably all throughout the world at this point, man. But I mean, Looney Tunes it has to be global. You know what I mean? I'm sure they watch it in other countries, the reruns and all this stuff. And, they have to be extremely popular everywhere. I never felt offended by the Speedy Gonzalez character, man. I was actually quite proud of the character. I would really love to know what all of you guys think, not just my Latino friends, but the non-Latinos listening to me, to the show. Do you guys find the Speedy Gonzalez character to be offensive? Let me know, socials, email, comment this video. Do you think Speedy Gonzalez is offensive to brown people? I don't think so. And I'm a brown person. You know what I mean? It's like, that's where I feel like the shit's getting out of hand. On top of that, they're canceling Pepe Le Pew, the quote unquote romantic skunk character. They pulled him out of the Space Jam movie with LeBron that's going to come out later this year. And apparently he's offensive now too. And it's just like, guys, we're talking about fucking cartoons here, right? Like, where does this stuff become so real to people? Where, now we cancel fucking animated TV shows and animated TV characters. I just, it's crazy. I saw this one thing that, I forgot who said it, but it really resonated with me, where someone's like, how did the generation that grew up with shows like South Park and Family Guy all of a sudden become offended by everything? You know what I mean? It's, you guys want to cancel everything at this point. It really, what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Kevin Hart thing that happened a couple of years ago. Do you guys remember that? Where Kevin Hart was named to be the host, I believe, of like the Oscars, and he was going to host the Oscars, right? And when he was named, he came out and said, this has been a huge dream of mine. I've always wanted to host the Oscars. It's like a dream come true for him. It's something that you can tell by the way he talked about it. He really wanted to do it. I think it meant a lot to him. And fucking social media and cancel culture came and took that shit from him. You know what I mean? Because the way cancel culture works these days is you can go back like 10 years of somebody's, Twitter feed and find some kind of off-color remark or joke that they said a decade ago or a decade plus ago, and you can blow it out of proportion today and cost somebody their career, cost somebody their job, cost somebody their livelihoods, just on this culture war bullshit. You know what I mean? So Kevin Hart 10 years ago on Twitter or Instagram or wherever he said it on one of his social medias he made like an off-color remark about, I believe it was like a homosexual remark about, how he would feel if his son was like a homosexual. And I mean, look, guys, it's a fucking joke. And by the way, the guy's a fucking comedian. That's literally what he does, is he makes jokes. He's trying to make people laugh. He's trying to get a reaction out of people. That's what comedians do. And they try to bully him into apologizing, and which he did apologize for the comments, various times. But it's like it got to the point where it felt like they were just trying to continue to publicly shame him, use him as the example to show everybody else, this is not going to be tolerated. We're not going to accept jokes, and it's like, dude, it was fucking ridiculous. It got to the point where Kevin Hart, rightfully so, and honestly, this made me respect him a whole hell of a lot more, because he didn't kowtow to the fucking cancel culture, and he didn't bend at the knee to for their fucking whims. It just got to the point where he threw his hands up and said, you know what? Obviously nothing I do is good enough for you people. Fuck it. I don't want to do it anymore. So, he got pulled from the job. He never got to host the Oscars. I don't think he even wants to do it anymore. It's just like, no, man, you guys, we had a chance to do it. It didn't get done, and now it's over. Moving on to the next thing. I don't even want to fucking deal with it anymore. Kevin Hart could have potentially done a really good job, and now we'll never know. You know what I mean? I mean, he's obviously very entertaining. I love Kevin Hart. You know what I mean? Who doesn't like a good Kevin Hart stand up? And, he does really funny movies, and I mean, he's just a funny guy. You know what I mean? And his social medias are fucking legit. I follow him on the social media too. And I like Kevin Hart. I'm a fan. And, that's just like, going back to the cancel culture stuff. That's the kind of shit right there, that just really, even even take it from a fucking lefty like me, guys. Even I find this shit to be fucking stupid. You know, it's totally ridiculous how, you know, I think there's things that warrant a cancel culture type response when it happens. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that nothing should be canceled, but it's, you know, it is really to the point where it feels like, you know, you're just trying to rewrite history now. You know what I mean? It's revisionist history. You know, it's if we deem something unacceptable today by yesterday's standards, then, you know, we can change our entire history. You know, we can rewrite the way we view our history. And it's like, you know, that's not how it works, you guys. You know what I mean? You can't rewrite the past. You know, you have to accept the past for what it is and learn from it. Like, I think, you know, this cancel culture stuff is really what, you know, turns a lot of people off, you know, to be honest, because, you know, how are you going to judge things of the past by today's standards? You know what I mean? We're going to go back how many decades now? And, oh, well, this happened in the 1970s, but by today's standards, we wouldn't accept it. So we got to cancel this movie or this actor or this product. You know, it's like, to me, if we're going to go down that route, it's true, man. It's a totally slippery slope. It really is, because where does it end? You know what I mean? Like right now it's Mr. Potato Head and Dr. Seuss. I mean, if they can go after fucking Dr. Seuss, like what can't they go after? You know what I mean? I feel like there should be a line drawn somewhere, or at least a basic, like, fundamental agreement and understanding that, listen, you know, they're different times. You know, we're living in much more hypersensitive times. And, you know, the reason for that is because, you know, our past was, you know, our past. The past was the way that it was. You know, we can't rewrite it. We can't tell it any differently. We can only tell it by the way in which it was. And yeah, man, that, you know, the past wasn't perfect. And what are you going to do? I mean, what country or what, you know, nation in the world has a perfect past? Nobody. You know what I mean? It's the smart cultures who learn from their past so that they don't repeat it. You know, it's that old saying, you know, if you don't learn from your past, you're doomed to repeat it. But it's true, man. You know what I mean? You got to learn from the past. You can't try to retell it to fit your own narrative that, you know, makes you feel, I don't know, some kind of sense of comfort, you know, that to have it told in a more sensitive way just for your sensitive ass little ears. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, people need to just learn how to take a fucking joke sometimes. People need to learn how to just fucking chill sometimes. Like, this is part of what, you know, the internet did that just fucked up the world. You know what I mean? It just gave too many people a fucking voice. It gave too many unimportant people. It gave them too much power. You know what I mean? I'll put it to you like that. And, like I said, man, it just, I think that's kind of a scary thing when they can go after, you know, like Dr. Seuss and, you know, children's toys like, you know, Mr. Potato Head, because listen, man, if people don't start to tame this shit in the way that, or the power that's given to like the cancel culture and the Twitter world, you know what I mean? Then, you know, it's never going to stop. And eventually they're going to come after everybody that you know and love, everybody that you like, and then possibly even you know what I mean? Because especially if you're a guy, you already kind of see it, you know, just any kind of accusation of any kind of misconduct can just cause you your job and your livelihood, your career, everything, you know, just off an accusation. And, you know, that's just kind of the downside of the internet and this new digital age that we're living in. And yeah, man, like I said, needs to be tamed. And you know, people need to just chill the fuck out about it, really, man. Because look, I want to be sensitive to everybody. I don't go out of my way to try to offend people in different cultures and different groups, but you know, I know how to take a joke for what it is. I can read a Dr. Seuss book without feeling like they're sending some kind of hidden messages of, you know, racial insensitivity. You know, like I said, I can't fucking talk, you guys, but, you know, I just, you know, I don't take this shit like so serious, man, that I can't just, you know, it doesn't stop me from living is what I'm trying to say. And, you know, I don't want to ramble on so long about the cancel culture stuff because it is so infuriating, but, yeah, man, I just wanted to bring that up because that's kind of how I feel about the topic right now. You know what I mean? And dude, it's just, we'll see what happens with it, man. But, you know, I fear about going forward, how far this shit's going to go. I really, really want to see kind of a lid put on a lot of this cancel culture stuff, because hey man, for what it's worth, the conservatives and the Republicans that are making a big ass deal about this right now, not totally wrong. You know what I mean? They're not totally wrong when they say that a lot of this shit's getting out of hand, and totally is. So yeah, moving on from that, just wanted to get into, before we jump into our break and go into our listener questions for the week, I just kind of wanted to run through a couple quick little tidbits of other news that, went on, since I was last with you guys, and just kind of run down a few things and a couple of my takes. The first one I should probably mention is, we talked about President Biden and the COVID stuff a little bit earlier. Biden actually came out a couple of days ago, I believe like 2 or 3 days ago, and he announced that, his goal has been set to, by May 1st, he wants every American citizen, adult, over the age of 18, obviously, to be eligible to, have access to get the vaccine. So, the Biden team is really, really pushing this vaccination thing hard, and, they're actually breaking their own, they're holding up with their goals and actually exceeding, what they said they wanted to do. So, on that front, it's looking well with the distribution of the vaccines. And he actually, also in that same, conference that he did, President Biden said that by the 4th of July, he's hoping that a lot of the COVID restrictions will actually be rolled back. So talking about, being able to take our masks off and, being able to socially gather again and, do things like that, especially, given that we'd be going into the summer. So, hey man, that's great fucking news. It's like, again, another one of those things you got to knock wood on. You got to hope that's the way it goes down, man. I hope, that we get there, people, get their vaccines, or, this COVID thing starts to die down, and, people can get back to, whatever regular means, whatever normal means, we can get back to normal, or at least have some kind of sense of normalcy again, whatever that means. But, it's funny, speaking on the COVID, it just got reported that, back late last year, Trump and, his wife and all his kids and everybody in his family, they also all got vaccinated, which is fucking funny, man, because, obviously Trump said it from his own mouth, when he, was doing the, Bob Woodward tapes, if you guys remember that, where he said, hey, listen, I know this pandemic is bad, but, I gotta keep everyone calm. So I'm downplaying it. Yeah, I'm totally downplaying it because, I don't want people to panic, instead of being honest with the people, and, when he was out there, downplaying the vaccines and saying like, oh, I might get it, I might not, nobody has to get it, sending that wink to people, right? Saying, just, Donald Trump knows what he was doing, man. He was downplaying people getting the virus because he was trying to make it a political issue. Turns out that behind the scenes, he was actually vaccinated himself. And, while he was telling his supporters, oh, it's a personal decision. You don't have to go get vaccinated. It's all good. it's not a big deal. When he should have been out there. Now, all of a sudden, he's released a statement saying like, yeah, I recommend that everyone goes to get vaccinated, because it's important. But, when he's sitting in the chair, when he's the president of the fucking United States, he doesn't have 2 minutes to address the nation and say that. He doesn't have 2 minutes to tweet it out. Hey, everyone, all my supporters, you should go get the fucking vaccine, because this shit is actually serious, and, we should stop acting like it's not. So I don't know, man. I just thought that was kind of funny. I wanted to bring it up. It's also, speaking of Trump, we're pretty much done with Trump, but, this is kind of a report related to him. It's more about the media, but it's related to Trump. And it's that, it got reported that a lot of these media networks, their ratings are like, they've been plummeting. They've gone down significantly, since Donald Trump left office here in the, post-Trump world. And, why I wanted to talk about this and why I thought it was funny, because conservatives are using this as some kind of like gotcha moment. They think it's like a gotcha to the left. Like, you see, now that Biden is the president, look, the media ratings are going down, and isn't that such a good thing? Like, honestly, yes, it is a pretty good thing. Turns out when people aren't fucking freaking out and stressed and living in this constant 24/7 environment of like, oh fuck, what is the crazy motherfucker gonna do today? They actually become more calmer. So it's an incredibly funny self-own for a lot of these conservatives who are out there and act like it's it's like a gotcha moment or like an advantage to them somehow that people are less stressed, that they don't feel like they have to focus on the fucking media 24/7, and people are more comfortable with Joe Biden, that they're not sitting there like, just waiting for him to do something completely fucking ridiculous and crazy and stupid. You know what I mean? So, I think when the conservatives get out there and be like, oh, see, look at these ratings going down. Yeah, that's actually a good thing. You know what I mean? I said leading up to the election, man, I hope Biden wins because I want him to be boring. I want him to be a boring president. Not so boring that people disengage and don't pay attention at all. But, what I'm saying is, I just want, I want an administration that doesn't feel so fucking chaotic. You know what I mean? And not for nothing, I feel like we at least get that with the Biden administration. Like, are we getting everything that we wanted and everything that we voted for and everything that we were promised? No, absolutely not. I just kind of ran through some of those things earlier. We're not getting nearly enough, under the Biden administration. There's been a lot of walking back on a lot of political promises that, he said were, going to become reality if he was elected, and they're just not happening. Not to say everything he's done has been terrible or bad. He's actually made some good moves as well. You know what I mean? So Biden is kind of, it's a mixed bag with Biden, man. He's kind of one of the most interesting presidents while being like very vastly boring, right? And he's not like, he's not the focal point like how it was under the Trump years. But he's in this interesting position where he's kind of like almost the best of both worlds, where he gives you things that are great, but then he does things that are, not great. They're pretty fucking horrible. And, you just kind of got to take the good with the bad, which you do with every president. But with Biden, I mean, I just feel like he's he's in an interesting position at an interesting time. You know what I mean? Where, the conservatives want, the standard kind of, well, not, I wouldn't say the standard kind of politician, but, they want the mold of a politician, like an older white man to be the president, right? And Biden is that. He is that, but on the left, he's on the liberal side. But I mean, just by title alone, you know what I mean? Biden is a Democrat, but he's not like a far left progressive like Bernie. You know what I mean? Like I would never disrespect the great my Theo Bernie Sanders by putting him in the same class with Joe fucking Biden. I mean, those guys are completely different worlds. You know what I mean? Biden is more of a centrist. He is a corporate Democrat. He is, he's a return to a lot of the neoliberal policies of the, not just the Obama administration, but the Clinton administration and a lot of Democratic presidents before him. So good with the bad with Biden, man. But, like I said, man, people seem to be less stressed and they seem to be a lot more comfortable with Biden than they are with Trump. And I think that's part of what you're seeing reflected in these media ratings, because people don't feel like they have to be so fucking dialed in and so tuned in 24/7 that they can just kind of ease back and relax and know that, Biden is there. And is he by any means perfect? I think I don't even need to answer that. You guys all know, who are regular listeners of the show, how I really feel about Biden. But hey, man, it's still, I'm still feeling an improvement from Trump. I'm still sitting there until he does something that proves me otherwise, in which, I will come out on the show and I will full on admit it. But, aside from that stuff, man, just a couple of other, just little quick tidbits of news. I actually saw the officer, Derek Chauvin, the one who obviously he was the guy who put the knee on George Floyd's neck, and which led to his death. He murdered George Floyd, and that's just how I feel about it, and no one's gonna change my mind about it. I don't care what you feel about George Floyd personally as the person. I didn't know him. I'm not here to defend him as the man or defend his character, because I don't know. I never met him. I don't know who he was, but from what I saw on that tape, yeah, the officer totally overreached his authority and his power, and I believe that his actions directly led to the death of George Floyd. So yes, very much in my opinion, he's a murderer. And it just got reported this week, a few days ago, that the one of his charges, the third degree murder charge that was dropped a little while ago, like he still got his other murder charges, but the third degree murder charge was actually reinstated. So he's going to be facing even more charges when his, upcoming in his trial that's going to begin soon. I believe, I don't know if they finished the jury selection, but last I heard they were in the jury selection process. And, I got to tell you, man, that case, it makes me a little bit nervous because, this is America, man, and he was a cop, and we know how America does it, especially with cops. You know what I mean? Look at the Rodney King verdict that came out back in the early 90s. It just, with these cases going to trial like this, man, and the fact that they take so long, like the fact that they take so long, I feel like is done strategically. It's done on purpose. Like, I know with these high profile cases and with the courts being so completely overrun with cases these days, things can take time, but there's also in some events they fast track cases because they're just such high profile. This is as high profile as it gets. There's going to be a lot of attention, a lot of eyeballs on this trial, right? And I feel like part of the reason why it takes so long sometimes is because they want people to kind of disengage and kind of they want people to stop paying attention. You know what I mean? Because dude, I don't know what levers are being pulled behind the scenes, man, but I fear that this guy's going to get acquitted. I fear a mistrial coming in this case. You know what I mean? Because honestly, man, it only takes one juror. It only takes one. It only takes one, and it could be more than one, but it only takes one. One of these Blue Lives Matter, thin blue line people, support the police no matter what type people, to sit on that jury and side with him and say, hey, man, him as a police officer took all the correct actions that day. I can't vote to convict him guilty, and, mistrial, he gets to walk away scot-free. Can you imagine, like, the headline in the news saying that this guy gets, he gets acquitted, like, not acquitted, but, a mistrial is declared. So basically, he can't be charged. He gets to walk away a free man after what he did. Yeah. You think the riots after George Floyd was murdered were bad? Yeah. Imagine that verdict comes out, and what do you think the state of the nation is going to be? You know what I mean? Like, that really worries me, man, because look, obviously not advocating riots. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's the right way to go about things. I don't think it's productive. But I know human nature, man. And I know if this guy doesn't get convicted to the fullest extent of the law, to the fullest, highest charge that he's got, and faces the most maximum time behind bars as possible, dude, you better believe that this, a big section of this country is going to be outraged. So, like I said, man, that one brings me a lot of worry, and we will keep our eyes on it and keep providing you with the information and keep tabs on what's going on with it. But, dude, I really fear what's going to come out of that case, man. Cause like I said, it only takes one juror, and, sometimes that's all you need. So hopefully on that one again too, man, because I think the best thing, honestly, for the country is that the guy gets convicted. You know what I mean? It's one guy. You know what I mean? It should be all of them, but I mean, I know we're focusing mainly on him because he was the actual guy with the knee on George Floyd's neck. But, dude, I think it would do a lot to benefit the country for him to get convicted and, do his time and, let people feel some kind of sense of justice in their lives that, that they don't all just get away with it. Cause if this guy gets away with it, he's another guy in a long line of fucking people that got away with some bullshit. And, I am terrified as to how this country will react in the wake of something like that. But, man, finally, just moving on from that as well, the last piece of news that I wanted to bring to you guys and share with you this week is, we just actually passed an anniversary, man, and it's, it's a sad anniversary, but it's the 24th anniversary of the murder of the Notorious B.I.G., man, Biggie Smalls, baby. And, yeah, dude, it's crazy, like, 24 years since, Biggie was murdered. It feels like a lifetime ago at this point. You know what I mean? Like forever that the game's been without Biggie. But I saw that the other day and I was just like, man, 24 years ago is when he was murdered. That's when we lost Biggie. And it's so crazy, man, how fucking fast the time will fly. You know what I mean? Cause that was in my lifetime. Well, it was 97 when Biggie was murdered, right? And, Pac was the year before, 96. Yeah, dude, I was 6 and 7 for those murders, and it was just, 6 and 7, I believe, and, total youngster when that shit went down, and, obviously, it's crazy, and, it really made me think about what is Biggie's legacy now, 24 years later, and, honestly, man, to me, his legacy is that, 24 years out of the game since his death, he's still way better than, a lot of the rappers even today. You know what I mean? Like his music definitely holds up well, over time, all throughout time. You can still, to this day in 2021, throw on a Biggie track from 94 and it still slaps, you know what I mean? It still bumps, and it's still something you can enjoy and appreciate, especially considering the quality of a lot of the music today, you know what I mean? Like, there was less technology and less of the bells and whistles, and it was harder to be a rapper and to get notoriety and to make it big in those days, when Biggie was coming up, as opposed to today where fucking everybody's a rapper these days, right? Anybody with a mic, a laptop, and access to a guitar center can be a rapper on SoundCloud these days. You know what I mean? And not saying that, people shouldn't, express their artistic side or try to be artistic, or if they have talent that they shouldn't share it with everyone. I'm saying just like, it kind of, sometimes I feel like that with this podcast. Like, there's so fucking many. It's just like, even for myself, I'm like, do I really deserve to be here? You know what I mean? Because there's so many great people doing podcasts, but now it just feels like fucking everybody has one now. You know what I mean? Everybody has a fucking podcast. Everybody has some kind of social platform. Everyone's a rapper now. You know what I mean? Everyone's an actor. Everyone's a model. And, I don't know, man. It's just, kind of, I don't want to veer off the Biggie thing too much, but, like I said, like in today's world where just like everybody can rap now, right? Everyone's a fucking rapper these days. Like, Biggie still stands out. You know what I mean? He still most definitely stands out in a crowd of so very many, and his music, like I said, it holds up very well. I can still listen to it today. And, and Juicy is my favorite hip hop song of all time. So, the song Juicy by the Notorious B.I.G. Biggie Smalls, is my favorite hip hop song of all time. I feel like everything that represents and encapsulates what hip hop is and should be is all in that one song. So you guys can go listen to, if you guys, I'm sure all of you guys have heard Juicy, but if you haven't, do yourself a fucking favor, go to YouTube, type in Biggie Juicy, and hopefully you'll see what I'm talking about. I think that is the most complete hip hop song that there ever was and that there ever will be. That's my number one. Biggie's not my number one, my top number one favorite rapper. That would actually be Ice Cube, but Biggie's in my top 5. I mean, I think he's in most people's top 5. I think it kind of, smart hip hop fans have Biggie in their top 5 somewhere. You know what I mean? And the people who don't, it just, obviously they're probably just like 14 and don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like I just wanted to shout out Biggie, man. And, just give him a little bit of talking time on the show, just as my way of kind of sending him a thank you, just a huge thank you for all the years of me listening to just that wonderful, wonderful music, man. That is just beautiful music that came out of the Notorious B.I.G. It's a shame, honestly, that he was murdered, because I mean, ain't no telling. Who knows with these guys, Tupac and Biggie, if they really reached their full potential. You know what I mean? Like, did they already reach their full potential during their time on this earth? They definitely took advantage of their time on this earth, but could they have gotten to an even higher level had they not been killed and were able to, move towards, their older age? Like, I would love to see what those guys would be doing right now. You know what I mean? Like Tupac, Biggie, other famous people that we lost. Like, sometimes I think like Selena, you know what I mean? For Latinos, if these people weren't murdered, like, what could their potential level, potentially have been? You know what I mean? Like, how far could they have taken it? And, I guess, it's just one of those great mysteries, we'll never know. There's, especially with the Tupac and Biggie murders, man, there's always going to be like, it's going to be like a mystery, right? It's going to be like a dark cloud with a big question mark on it, because you're never going to get an official answer to those cases. You know what I mean? Which, look, a lot of people who have seen a lot of the Biggie and Tupac documentaries and have really looked into it and done a lot of research to it, like, I think you can kind of form your own, probably almost certain educated guess about what really went on with those cases. And, like, if but I don't think it's just like with the JFK assassination, like, so much time has passed. I don't think at this point you're able to really get an official answer as to, what went on there and, everything of that nature. But listen, man, like I said, 24 years later, Notorious B.I.G., definitely still a legend. Definitely music still holds up very, very well. I was privileged enough to be able to, enjoy and listen to his beautiful works of art. And like I said, man, it's a shame that he had to go at such an early age, man, because ain't no telling, what that guy could have potentially done throughout, whatever more time he would have had he not been murdered back in 97 over there in LA. So, just a shout out to Biggie. And, with that said, you guys, let's go ahead and jump into our quick music break here for those of you guys listening on the audio only versions. And I'll also have a quick little intermission for the YouTube watchers. And we will take this quick little break. And when we come back, we will jump into my favorite part of the show yet again. And that is answering all of your guys' listener questions. So I can't wait to see what you guys got in store for me this week. And that is all coming up next right here on the Battleborn Podcast. So stay tuned. All right, you guys, and we are back, and it is time to get into the listener question part of the show, which is, obviously you guys know, if you guys have any question, comments, concerns that you guys want to send into the show for me to read on this segment of the podcast here, and, read your comments or your questions, you guys can, easiest way is probably through the email right here, which is at battlebornpodcast@gmail.com, or not at battlebornpodcast, but just battlebornpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure I get that right. And you can also send them to our social medias, which is there at Battleborn Podcast for the Instagram and at the Battleborn Podcast for the Facebook. And you can also reach us here on these YouTube channels, either by commenting on these videos. And while you're at it, make sure you subscribe to this channel and also like these videos. I like all our videos, just give us a little love, and helps us keep the thing growing, and helps us spread the podcast out to even more listeners, and then hopefully we get some more listeners that want to come in and enjoy the show as well. So always good stuff there. And with that said, again, like I said, let's go ahead and dive right into this week's listener questions. I'll try to burn through a bunch of them, here. And let's go ahead and start with this one. This one reads, subject line, Biden primary. So Biden primary. Let's go ahead and read the email here. Hey Mario, awesome rant on Joe Biden last week. Completely agree that neither party gets a free pass and you have to cut out all of the corruption. I feel disappointed with Biden so far, and also so I was wondering, it said so far, and also I was wondering, what do you think of the potential chances that another Democrat can primary Joe Biden for the 2024 nomination? Do you think it's possible, and if so, who would be a worthy opponent? Do you think Bernie Sanders would have one more run left in him? Sorry for all the questions all at once, but I appreciate your input and keep up all the great work with the podcast. Oh, well, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you for enjoying it, and thank you for, showing us a little bit of love there. But as far as answering your questions, you had a few of them here. Let's go ahead and kind of review Biden primary. What are the chances I think that another Democrat can primary Joe Biden for the 2024 nomination? Not very high, man. I don't think the chances are very high of that. It's just like, there's power to an incumbent president, meaning, the president that's currently in power, they have a lot of advantages, you know what I mean? Namely that, their name has been all over the place for 4 years. If we're talking about him getting through his first term, by the time his first term is up, you would probably hear President Biden's name all over the place. Like, everyone knows who he is, and the notoriety of it is really hard to beat. Not saying that it's impossible. Obviously, Donald Trump just lost after his first term, but it is, historically, it is hard to beat a sitting president, and especially like to out primary a sitting president with another member of the same party. Like, I don't think, I mean, depending on who, but I mean, I'm trying to think of the crowd of Democrats. I don't think there's anyone that can garner that much support. You know what I mean? Unless it was like a Oprah or someone huge like that, or like a Michelle Obama or something like that people would really get behind. But I mean, those people are not going to primary Joe Biden. You know what I mean? They're on Team Biden, so, yeah, man, I don't think it's very possible that Biden gets primaried. As far as, do I think Bernie Sanders has one more run left in him? I don't, man, and it pains me to say that, because you guys know I am a total, Bernie bro. You know what I'm saying? I am Team Theo Bernie through and through all the way. I still to this day believe that he should have been rightfully the president. It was stolen from him in 2016. It was manipulated away from him in 2020. So, I don't think at this point, I don't even know if at this point Bernie even wants to consider running again, trying to run another campaign. Like, I mean, like I said, it pains me to say, man, but Bernie's not a young man, and he's not getting any younger. And, he's really up there in age. And, after 4 years of Biden, it's just like, I don't see it possible that even from a Bernie primary, that he could get enough support that would, just kind of push Biden out of office. You know what I mean? I honestly think Biden's going to get through his first term. I think he's going to run for his reelection. And then, depending on what goes down with his opponent, anything could happen, man. It really depends. A lot of it really sits on Joe and Kamala, and what they're able to do and what messages they're able to sell to the American people, to the public, as to how good of a job they're doing, or maybe in some cases how poor of a job they're doing. I think that's going to determine a lot. When we get there, when we start getting into like late 2023 and early 2024, in the months leading up to the, the next presidential election, I think I'll have a better feel. Hopefully I'm still doing the podcast by then, and I can kind of give you guys an update. Maybe we'll come back and listen to this show. You know what I mean? If I can find it at that point, you know what I mean? The archives, I'm sure, will be huge after 4 years of shows, but, yeah, man, maybe one of you guys will find it and pull it up for me and send it my way. But yeah, man, I don't think it's going to happen. I think, Biden's going to be the nominee, for this term. And, well, I mean, he was already the nominee for this term, but he's going to be the nominee for the next campaign. I believe so. You know what I mean? Like the narrative that Joe Biden's not even going to make it out of his first term. Well, yeah, want to bet Joe Biden makes it out of his first term and he runs for re-election. I bet you, and I will, somebody save this clip. And if I'm still here 4 years from now and we're talking about the, when we're talking about Biden's reelection bid, remind me that I said right here in 2021 during, his first couple of months in office that he is going to get through his first term and he is going to run for re-election. And that's just the way it's going to go down. That's what I really, really believe. But, as far as, do you think it's possible? And if so, who would be a worthy opponent? Dude, I mean, who would be a worthy opponent to primary Joe Biden? I don't know. Probably nobody, man. Like, I don't think anyone's a worthy opponent. Like, I mean, I'm not saying not worthy, but I don't think anyone's a credible threat to unseat Biden. Especially as another fellow Democrat. I don't see it happening. But, as far as the general election, man, I mean, look, the Republicans got a lovely cast of characters that are potentially all going to run for president, and we still at this point don't really know what Donald Trump is going to do and if he's going to be running again or if he's going to even be able to run again. But yeah, dude, I'm gonna say probably the best chance to get Biden out of office will be the Republicans beating him in 2024, and that is also unlikely. Even if Trump runs again, you know what I mean? Because if Trump runs again, like I believe he's gonna get a similar result. Most of the country is gonna vote against him because it's like, unless Biden was just historically horrifically bad, which I mean, he could be, but I doubt he's going to be that bad that people are like, I doubt all the 80 million people that just voted against Trump and voted for Biden in the last election are going to suddenly say, you know what? Maybe we can go back to Trump for another 4 years. Maybe it won't be so bad. Like, yeah, it will be that bad. We already know what the first 4 years were like. I could imagine him having another 4 untamed, knowing that he doesn't have to win any more re-elections and he can just kind of run free reign and do whatever he wants. Yeah, man, I don't think that would be a pretty sight to see. And I think a lot of the voters know that. So I still continue to believe that Trump is not only their best, but their worst option. You know what I mean? He's like, it's crazy for the conservatives because the conservatives want to vote for Trump, but there's not enough of them to help him win. You know what I mean? And if it's not Trump, what other Republican can potentially run, man? I don't know. I don't know who would be a front runner for that. You know what I mean? Because they're just so divided and fractured and split now, between the Trump people and the classic Republicans, Republican classic, as they say. And ain't no telling, man. I think I think we need more time. We need to give him more time, and we'll start to see a clearer picture of the what the future of the GOP looks like. But I mean, that's just my opinion. But anyway, man, good question. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This one reads Lakers question. So hopefully we got a Lakers question. Hopefully from a Lakers fan. Let's see what it says here. Do you think if the Lakers don't win this year that they can come back and win it again next year? Oh shit, that's a good question, man. I actually haven't thought about that. I have not thought about next season. I've been kind of locked into this one and the past season, because like I said, we just came off the championship. Now we're like, immediately thrust back into a new season, playing for, competing for another championship and, trying to defend our crown. Yeah, man, look, if the Lakers don't win it this year, they'll still be they'll still be in the conversation next year, next season. If they still have a healthy LeBron, still got a healthy AD, I think just that alone puts you in the conversation, especially just to get out of the West, because that might be the best duo of the West. But, look, man, like I said earlier, man, I think even LeBron looks at things right now and it's like, I got to win now. You know what I mean? I got a lot more games yesterday than I got a lot more games tomorrow. You know what I mean? There's not a lot more left in my career. I played 17 years. I'm not going to play 17 more. You know what I mean? LeBron is really, I'm not saying he's on his last leg, but I think his career is in its last phase. You know what I mean? He's on that last stage of his career where everyone knows he's kind of on the way out. You know what I mean? And, I think, just like I said, man, Father Time catches up to anybody, and it's undefeated. So LeBron can't play forever, you know what I mean? And he's got so much wear and tear in his body. I know he works on his body a lot and trains and keeps it in tip-top condition like all year round. He spends some pretty big coin on his health and his nutrition and his training. But dude, LeBron has to know that if he's gonna win anymore, he's got to win them now, dude, and as many as quickly as possible, because the more chances you don't make it there or that you don't win, it's like another year gone, and like you don't get faster and better with age. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen. Not everybody is wine. You know what I mean? Like wine gets better with age, but people don't. People's bodies start to break down and they get older and they just can't do the things like they used to. And the same will happen to LeBron one day. Maybe not today, maybe not this season or next season or the one after that, but eventually, eventually at one point Michael Jordan wasn't Michael Jordan anymore. You know what I mean? So it's going to happen to LeBron. And, yes, to answer your question, yes, they can come back and win it again next year if they don't win it this year. They can win it this year and win it next year and maybe potentially make it a three-peat, which would then open up the discussion of LeBron as maybe one of the greatest Lakers of all time. Not the greatest, but if LeBron can go three-peat with 3 finals MVPs, without question, goes in the conversation of one of the best Lakers of all time. Not the best, but one of the best. He'll go in there with Kobe and Magic and Shaq and all these people, you know what I mean? Because, a three-peat, in this day and age, a three-peat and 3 finals MVPs with the Lakers after winning championships in Cleveland and in Miami. It's just like, that would be a hell of a story to tell on his career. That'd be a nice cap on his career. But yeah, man, that's kind of how I feel about it. And yes, love the Lakers questions, man. Go Lakers. Let's go ahead and read the next one here. Oh man, this one actually reads Meghan Markle. That whole debacle. I'm so tuned out of that. I don't even care. But let me just, out of respect, let me read your question. It says, what are your thoughts on this whole Meghan Markle situation with the royal family? Yeah, I didn't really talk about it on the show just because, I don't really care. But, yeah, that's how I feel, man. Those are my thoughts. I don't give a shit about the royal family. Like, I don't get the concept of the royal family. So the whole thing kind of seems ridiculous to me anyway, you know what I mean? Where you have an actual government, over there in the UK, they have a parliament, they have an actual functioning government that, is who's in charge of the legislating and the government and everything like that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the royal family is just supposed to be like, at this point, they're just like figureheads, right? They're just like, they're just representatives, to be like, representations of the state or I'm sorry, the country. I don't know if they actually wield any actual political power. I may be wrong about that. I'm not fully versed in the, European systems, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that they don't actually have any actual power. They're just the royal family, you know what I mean? I'm sure they have a lot of influence, but influence and power and authority are not the same thing. So I don't get it, man. Like, I don't, calling another human being like your highness and your majesty and acting like they're, a superior group of people than, the citizens that they're supposedly there to represent. And I mean, the whole situation with this Meghan Markle stuff, man, is like there was a lot of, they did an interview with Oprah, right? And there was a lot of accusations about, that the royal family, they're secretly racist. You know what I mean? They don't particularly like the idea of a black woman joining the family and, bearing the child of the prince or whatever. And it's just, like I said, man, it just seems like a reality show drama to me. I don't really care. It's just like, you know what I mean? If I wanted to watch bullshit like that, I'd watch the Kardashians, which I don't watch the fucking Kardashians. And, that's just kind of what it feels like to me, man. I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm not, calling you out on the question. I appreciate you sending me the question, but you say, how do I feel about it? Don't give a shit, man. I could care less about, the royal family or whatever they got going on. I mean, if they're doing anything that's corrupt or that's, wrong or they're racist or whatever, cancel that. You know what I mean? Where's cancel culture on that? You know what I mean? Go get rid of these fucking people. Don't worry about Speedy Gonzalez. Why don't you worry about actual people, that are doing wrong things in the world? But, dude, other than that, my only other thought is like, dude, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, nobody cares. Like, I don't think anyone right now that's focused on, getting their stimulus payments and paying the bills is sitting up at night thinking about, man, what's going on with the royal family right now? You know what I mean? It's just a nothing story to me, man, to be honest. But let me go ahead and move on to the next question. This one reads, no stimulus. Let's see. Hi, Mario. I like your podcast, dude. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Did you hear that some dads probably won't get their stimulus checks if they owe on child support? Do you think that's right or wrong? Oh shit. I actually did not hear that. I wasn't aware that, but I mean, it does make sense. I mean, the stimulus is being paid out by the IRS, correct? So if you have some kind of order in place where they're like garnishing your wages, which does happen, guys or, sometimes in some small cases, sometimes girls who are on child support don't pay their child support as obligated, to do, then, yeah, they can be punished, all the way up to including jail time, suspended driver's licenses for like up to a year, and, even having your wages garnished to pay back the child support. Like if you have any back pay, like, I mean, that makes sense. So like, if you're under some kind of order to pay back, they call it heirs, here in my state, you know what I mean? Which is basically back pay. And, if you owe and you're under order or a legal obligation to pay that back, and the IRS is, capable of garnishing your wages, or I believe there has to be an order for them to garnish your wages. But if you have that order in place, then yeah, it would make sense. Like I said, that you wouldn't get a stimulus. Like, you'll get the stimulus, but it's going to be automatically deducted from your wage garnishment. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe that the stimulus does count as income. If I got that right, it counts as, income. It's like a qualified income because, they're not going to tax you on it. You know what I mean? Because, the global pandemic, like, they're not going to tax you on a stimulus, relief. But yeah, man, if you're generating some kind of income and you're under like some kind of, garnishment, order, then yeah, it makes total sense that they will, that it'll go to where it needs to go before it gets to you. So that makes sense. But as far as, do I think that's right or wrong? It depends, man. Everybody's situation is different. You know what I mean? There's really good dads out there, who, they're under a lot of obligations that they shouldn't be, when they're good fucking dads, you know what I mean? The problem is with a lot of this stuff, man, is that a lot of the, the child custody laws and things like that are written. I mean, they were written a long time ago. I've done reports on this, child custody and child support and law, the policies and the laws and the way the courts are set up now. They were set up decades and decades ago. You know what I mean? Like, these policies have not been updated and changed in a very long time. You know what I mean? And we're living under laws that are written as if, we're living in a world where the man is still the provider and the woman is like the home caretaker. You know what I mean? Where it's not like the laws aren't written in a way that says that both parents are equal. You know what I mean? Most states are very mother friendly. You know what I mean? It puts the mother at a greater advantage than the father. Fathers at a complete disadvantage most of the time when it comes to, the child custody process, because, it's assumed like we can't be as good of parents as the mother, which is like ridiculous to me. Cause like what happened to equality? You're always talking about you want to be equals, but you want to be equals when it comes to your comparisons to us, but we can't be equals when it comes to our comparisons of you. So, I mean, it's very hypocritical to me, man. But like I said, it's on a case by case basis. You can't judge everybody. You can't make it. I don't think it can be one generalized answer. You know what I mean? Because like I said, there's good fathers out there who are there for their kids and show up for their kids and put their kids first and do everything right and do everything the right way. And, that they're not, that they're not getting, nearly as much advantage in the, the court system and the proceedings, in a custody issue or something like that, as the woman would. So, I think the laws just really need to be updated, man. But it could be right. It could be wrong. It depends on the person. There's also a lot of shitty dads. You know what I mean? Like, go talk to 10 girls, man, 10 mothers. And I guarantee you at least half of them are going to say, yeah, my baby daddy's a piece of shit. He's not there for the kids. He's not taking care of them, walked out on us, or doesn't send money, doesn't support in any way, shape or form. And you know what I mean? For everyone great father like myself and a lot of you kings out there, listening. I know a lot of you guys listening are great fathers, but for every one of us, there's 20 more of the suckers that are just making it harder for us and giving us all a bad name. So, you know what I mean? Anyone can be a fucking dad, but it takes a real man to be a father. And, I'm sure that's an expression a lot of you guys have heard, and that's how I really feel about it. But hey, man, it can be right, it can be wrong, but everyone's situation is a little bit different. What are you gonna do, man? I think what we need to do is update our laws, our child custody laws and things like that to really fit the times and to be written in a fair and equal way that says both parents that want to be involved are fully capable and qualified to both be providers of that child. And we're calling it child support, right? We're not calling it mother or baby mama support. So there should be some, if you're going to pay child support, man, like I can get into a whole thing all day about it. I won't waste too much time. You know what I mean? I wouldn't call it wasting time, but I won't rant on it for too long, just to move this podcast along and wrap the show. But dude, yeah, man, it's just, like I said, I lost my train of thought for a second, but I think fathers can be, just as important as the mother, sometimes even more, if we're talking depending on the kid. I think a father is more important and vital into a young man's life, whereas the mother is more important, more vital to a young woman's life. You know what I mean? It's just the way it goes, man. that's how you're going to learn your shit. You know what I mean? That, I think, for a boy, your father is your first role model. For a girl, your mother is your first role model. So that needs to be the first person that sets the example for you. And that's just how I feel about it, man. And very, very good question. That one's a little bit of a thinker. I like it. Let's go ahead and do a few more here. This one reads COVID shot. COVID shot. Let's see what it says. Not sure if you've answered this already, but have you taken the COVID shot yet? No, I have not been vaccinated to this point. Still on the fence about it, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, look, I don't want to be that guy that's like, I'm not like anti-vaccines or anything like that. You know what I mean? I'm not over here pushing some kind of conspiracy theory like, oh man, I heard so-and-so about the vaccines. No, absolutely not. Look, I know plenty of people who have already been vaccinated, and it's been a mix of reactions about, what the side effects were after their shots. But, I've talked to a person who got their vaccine, didn't feel a thing, didn't get sick, didn't have any bad reactions, didn't have any bad side effects. He just got a shot and, he just kind of carried on with his life, and it never became a problem. And now he's able to, walk around maskless and enjoy a lot of the, the pre-COVID life, the pre-COVID lifestyle anyway, wherever, the requirements are mandatory. And, I also know another young woman who got the, vaccine, and, she had a couple of, side effects, nothing major. She just felt like, she told me that she got her vaccine. Rest of that day, she felt great, but the next day she wasn't feeling so hot. She felt a little under the weather, kind of carried on for a few days, but, then it just passed. You know what I mean? She got it, didn't feel great. And then, it passed, like kind of just going through the motions of being sick regularly. You get it, you deal with it, you nurse yourself and recover. And then, you're back to 100%. And you're, this girl I'm talking about, goes to my gym. So, I missed her at the gym for a couple of days. Saw her. I'm like, hey, where you been? Oh, I got the COVID shot. I got sick. Wasn't feeling good. But then, the following week she was back in the gym. Like, oh, but now I feel better. So, it's just, everyone's going to react to it a little bit differently. I'm not promoting any kind of, idea of why people shouldn't get the vaccine. It's just a personal choice. I haven't done it yet, but I'm still on the fence about it, about whether or not I'm going to do it, but I'm starting to lean a little bit more towards I'll probably end up getting it, but, I just haven't bit the bullet and just gone all the way with it yet. So, I'll keep you updated. If I end up getting the vaccine, I will come on here and talk to you guys about it, talk about the experience and what I'm feeling, and just give you guys the whole rundown. Maybe, it'll help you guys make your own determination as well. So another good question there. Let's go ahead and read a few more. This one, subject line reads, Cancun cruise. Let's see. Excuse me. Hey Mario, do you think there's a chance that Ted Cruz loses his Senate seat, or at least loses his next election? Well, I mean, if we're talking about for what he did, and he went to for the vacation he took during the crisis in Texas, no, I don't think he's gonna lose his seat over that. He's not gonna be impeached or whatever process is in play that could remove him potentially from his title, from his rank, from his office. I don't think he's going to lose his Senate seat over that. Texas is obviously still a very conservative state, so I don't think they're going to quite turn on Ted Cruz, given that his poll numbers have tanked, even with Republicans and conservatives. His poll numbers are way in the toilet, but I don't think that's enough for them to remove him from office. But as far as him losing his next election, yeah, man, it's quite possible. I think it's more possible that he would lose a primary to another Republican, as opposed to losing the general to a Democrat. But, like I said, conservatives are real, Texas is a conservative, very conservative place. It's more red than it is blue, but, the gap is getting a little narrower, and, it is getting a little closer, and, the Democrats continue to do a little bit better each time. If you look at the trend in Texas, every election, the Democrats are chipping away at that lead and getting closer and closer and closer. So it could happen, but I think that, yes, I think it's more likely that he loses an election, either by being out primaried by another Republican, or I even think it's fully possible that, towards the end of his term, his current term, that Ted Cruz just says fuck it and announces that he's not going to run for a re-election, and then maybe that's how his career in the Senate ends, which is very likely, happens all the time. A lot of GOP senators are retiring, in this post-Trump world, and Ted Cruz can very well be one of them. But my opinion, he'll probably run again. He probably won't get out primaried by another Republican, but the Democrats could, they would be in play to put up a good solid candidate. Like, let us not forget that Beto O'Rourke, who he went up against last time, was within striking distance of winning that Senate seat, and Ted Cruz just barely skid out of that one, out of that election. That was a tough election for both those guys, It was a very hard fought campaign, and obviously Ted Cruz, he came out on top, but and another election, especially with his poll numbers the way they are, and after the whole debacle with Cancun, yeah, man, I can totally see that, or I can totally see him, potentially losing his next election. So we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. And let's go ahead and just do a couple of more questions for the week, guys. We'll wrap the show. This one reads, getting over an ex. And let's go ahead and read this here and see what it says. What's your best advice for getting over a relationship? Really need to pick myself up again. Let me just say, if you're going through some kind of a breakup or some kind of a break in your relationship, I'm really sorry. You know what I mean? I'm sorry that you're going through that. Happens to the best of us, man. We've all experienced a bad breakup a time or two in our lifetimes. I assume most of us have. You know what I mean? I think most people have had their heart broken at some point in their lives, you know what I mean? And they know that pain and how much it hurts. It fucking sucks, man. It just really, really fucking sucks. That's really all I can tell you. Like, trust me, I know, man. I've been there, or girl, whoever's writing in, but, trust me, I've been there. I know what it's like to, when you really like care about someone, you maybe you even love them, and, whatever happens in your relationship, and, you think, you're thinking about being with this person long term, or forever, maybe you're thinking marriage, and then for whatever reason your relationship ends, and it's just like all of a sudden this person that you care so much about and thought that, you would potentially always have a relationship with is no longer there. They're just like poof and disappeared, you know what I mean? And it's very, very hard, man. It's very, very hard to deal with, you know what I mean? When you care about someone and you gotta let them go, you know what I mean? But I don't really have any great advice for a breakup, I'll be honest, man, because there's nothing really I can say that can make you feel better. Like, the best thing I can really tell you, man, is if you're going through a breakup, you gotta let it hurt, you know what I mean? Like, be sad and don't be ashamed for being sad. You know what I mean? You're human. Like don't be sad forever. You know what I mean? But take time to go through the process, because a breakup is similar to like the grieving process. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you lost somebody, maybe not in death, but that, you have that sense of loss that someone is no longer in your life, and you got to go through all the stages of that grief, from, the sadness to getting your anger out to, just accepting it and then moving on, you know what I mean? And just going on to the next phase of your life. But, what I can tell you is just, don't be ashamed for being sad, and, the best thing I can say for anybody, like anybody that knows somebody that's going through like a bad breakup or something like that, take it from me, man. The best advice I can give you is, do not under any circumstances ever tell someone that's going through a heartbreak that, oh, it'll get better someday. Like, that is the worst fucking piece of advice I've ever heard. Like, it'll get better someday, because, oh, you just gotta know it's gonna get better someday. Just give it time. It's just like, look, when you're going through a heartbreak, you're trying to deal with your emotions right now. You're not trying to think about how you're going to feel later on in life. You got to deal with what's in your heart right now, and when someone just comes and generically says, oh, don't worry, it'll get better one day, it's like you're trying to force them to automatically imagine a future without the person that's, in their heart and on their mind. And it's really hard. It's a really hard thing to do. You know what I mean? And people don't want to be looking towards a future without the person that they thought they were going to spend that future with. You know what I mean? Like, I think a better piece of advice when you're going through a breakup is just, man, like, if you're hurting, you get a chance to feel your hurt, you know what I mean? And be sad and just let your emotions take the natural process that they need to take. You know what I mean? You got to be sad. Then you're probably going to get angry. Then you're probably going to maybe be a little resentful. You know what I mean? But you work through all those emotions. Like you work through the emotions, man. You really, you grind and you really focus on you. Like there's good advice right there. If you're going through anything in life, not just a breakup, but any kind of hardship in your life you're going through, work on yourself, focus on you and improving yourself. You know what I mean? So, like that's kind of the double-edged sword with a breakup. You know what I mean? Where it's like, a breakup fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Especially, like I said, if it's someone that you really, really cared about, it really fucking sucks. You know what I mean? To lose somebody or, like it's really hard. Like I can tell you this from my own personal experience, man. When you love somebody, so fucking much, you love someone so fucking badly that you feel like you could die for this person, because your love for them is so real and it's honest and you want to just share your life with this person. But one day they tell you that they don't want to be with you or they don't love you anymore. It's like, dude, there's nothing more fucking stabbing in the heart than that. It hurts like hell. It fucking sucks, man. Like I can't think of a better way to express it, man. It fucking sucks. It hurts a lot and, it's very painful. It's a hard thing for anyone to go through in life, and my heart goes out to anyone that's going through hard stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because I've been there, trust me, I have been there a time or two in my life and, you deal with it the best you can, man. You pick yourself up, you focus on you because that's the other side of a breakup, man. It's like, yes, on the one hand, it hurts and it cuts very deeply, but let me tell you, man, there is absolutely nothing in this world more motivating than a fucking breakup, especially a bad one, because after you go through the stages, right, that I just explained, after you go through all those motions and you start getting back to just being yourself, because look, obviously, there was a time in your life when you weren't with this person, and I would assume you were happy at one point without this person. So you're sad because they came into your life and now they're gone. But now you got to try to find a way to navigate yourself back to that point in your life where you were happy without them. You know what I mean? Because there's a point in your life, like I said, where you were happy without this person. So you need to find a way to get back there and even improve on that. You know what I mean? Work on yourself, focus on you, focus on your health, focus on your education, do things that excite you, do things that bring you passion and things that you love. You know what I mean? And that's going to be the best way for you to, constructively and, responsibly work through a breakup and work through those emotions. And, I really think, like I said, man, there's nothing more motivating than that. You know what I mean? Because after a while, after a breakup and after, the dust kind of settles and the smoke clears on it, on like a relationship ending and, someone, exiting your life, you start to kind of, you get into this point of reflection, you know what I mean? Where you kind of look back and look, man, just don't blame yourself fully for a breakup. You know what I mean? It takes two to tango, man. And I always think that whenever a relationship ends, it's a kind of a combination. It's never really just on one person. It's a combination of factors of both people that started not to work anymore. You know what I mean? There's a point that something happened in your relationship where it no longer became the most exciting thing in your lives. It started to become almost kind of a burden to at least one of the people. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like the same, level of excitement like when you first got together, and listen, all relationships eventually go through this at one point where you have the honeymoon phase, you know what I mean? You get together and things are great and it's exciting and you're hanging out and you're doing fun things and you're fucking having sex and it's just fucking great, right? It's fucking amazing at the beginning of any relationship because it's new and it's fresh and like I said, it's exciting and it's, it's just nothing, there's no better feeling than that. But after a while, you start to get used to a person, you start trying or not trying so hard, you start taking, one person usually starts taking the other for granted or maybe both people start taking each other for granted. And, the strong relationships, the ones that are meant to last will kind of work through those issues and they'll, good relationships have strong communication, you know what I mean? So somewhere along the line, if you're going through a breakup, I would say that, the communication kind of broke down between you guys and, that's why you weren't able to work it out. But Listen, if this person one day decided, hey, they just called you and said, hey, you know what? I no longer want to be with you. I no longer want to be part of your life. I no longer want to grow with you. Or, maybe they found somebody else and they're like, hey, I'm with another person now. And, I'd rather be with them and not with you anymore. Then look, man, the best thing I can tell you is just to let them go. You know what I mean? When the day someone tells you that they don't want to be with you anymore, don't beg them to stay. Don't fight for them to stay. If they're telling you that that's not what they want and they want to go off and do, whatever else, you got to let them do it, man. And yeah, it's going to hurt. It's not going to be easy. It's not easy to let go of someone that you love. Trust me. It is not easy to let go of someone that you love. But when that time comes, when you're kind of backed into a corner, forced up against the wall, and that's the only option that they're giving you, man, you gotta respect their wishes too. You know what I mean? If you really care about this person, obviously you don't want to lose them and think about a life without them, or think about them potentially being with somebody else other than you, somebody else out there making them happy. But hey, man, if that's what they're telling you that they want, then you got to respect that decision. And, like I said, man, let that person be, let it go. And if it comes back to you, then it was meant to be. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't. Right. And, take the opportunity to pick yourself up, lick your wounds, and improve on yourself. That's the best advice I can give you. I know I kind of gave you a long answer there, man, but I hope that helps, because look, I find this question to be incredibly important because I've been there. I know so many of you guys have been there, men and women alike. Everyone's had a heartbreak at some point in their life. And if you haven't, I guarantee you at some point you will. You know what I mean? Something in life will break your heart. And, you can either let it make you or you can let it break you. And, for those of us who are stronger minded, those of us who are smart about it, like I said, we take our lumps and we get stronger and we move on. So that's kind of, the message I'm giving to you. And, man, if, man or girl, whoever's writing this in, if you ever want to talk about it more, definitely hit me up on the socials, hit me up on this email, follow up with the show. I will definitely keep in touch. And if there's something you want me to read on the show, I'll do that. Something you want to talk about in private, just let me know. Hey, this is not a question for the show. This is just something I want to ask you in private. We'll correspond that way, man. I would love to, I'm not like some kind of life coach or dating expert or anything like that, but, I'm a guy who will listen. And, if you're going through something and, you're a supporter of mine, supporter of this show, and you feel like there's something I can, do to help you, or I'm just a stranger to a lot of you guys. So if you just want a stranger to vent to and get a different perspective from, hit up your boy. I'll be right here, and I would definitely love to get in touch with you guys, and we'll get through it together, you guys. So with that one put behind us, let's go ahead and let's do one last question for the week. And this subject line reads Latinos. So let's see what it says. Hey, is it true that Latinos will be the majority in America? Yes, it's absolutely true. I believe it's going to be somewhere in the 40s, right? In the 2040s, in the mid 2040s, like 2045 or 46 or 47 or something like that. But, with the current trends and the population growth, the way it's going now, Latinos are slated to one day become the majority race in the United States of America. So, one day we will be the most people in this country. And, we're talking just total legal citizens here, because, we disproportionately have way more kids than everybody else. You know what I mean? Like Latino, I think, I remember during the Obama years, there was a statistic that came out once that was like, this was like when Obama was president. I remember when he talked about it, he said, for the first time, like on record, more Hispanic babies were born than white babies. You know what I mean? And that's like a world first, or a country first here in America. You know what I mean? Because that was the first time it had ever happened. And then, all the people looked at the trends of like, the population growth and the trends that are moving, excuse me. And, man, they said very much so that, one day the Latinos will be the majority in this country. So, I'm interested to see what the country looks like by then. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder what it's going to be like. It's going to be a totally different world. And, God willing, knock on wood, I hope that I'm alive to see it, because I would love to live through that time and see what our people and my culture can do to what I believe would be an improvement to this country, or improve this country. You know what I mean? I believe we would we would definitely do that. But yeah, man, it is gonna happen. Another good question, another good piece of information for people out there to know. And man, it's been so good being back. It's been a great show. And with that's going to do it for our show this week. I would just like to thank all of you guys for tuning in to another edition of the Battleborn Podcast. I am so glad that I was able to work through all my stuff and back here and joining you guys once again. Always definitely a pleasure. I enjoy this podcast like no other. You guys don't even know. So definitely all good times. If you guys want to write into the show and add any, of your questions or whatever's on your mind, you guys already know. Hit up the email, battlebornpodcast@gmail.com. Social medias, @Battleborn Podcast for the Instagram, @The Battleborn Podcast for the Facebook. You can always listen to us on the Spotifys. You can always hit us on the YouTube. You can be sure to subscribe and like these videos, subscribe to the channel, leave comments on the videos, and just keep in touch with us, man. And it's been fucking great. I am so fucking glad to be back and back here with all of you guys doing this again. And man, hopefully, like I said earlier in the show, we got some really cool stuff planned for the podcast coming in the next few weeks. So be sure to be on the lookout for that, and I will make sure that I get on it and make it happen for all of you guys. So with all that said, it's been a great one, and totally happy to be back. I am Mario Salinas for the Battleborn Podcast, and for all of you guys, you already know, you guys have a great week, and I will see you for the next one. Battleborn Podcast.